They decide to use him later on. And in the first game today, the Chargers are missing one player, but will have a number of players back today. There's the list. Joshua Palmer out today with a foot injury, but Quentin Johnson is expected to play. J.K. Dobbins is expected to play. Both players listed as questionable, and both players, barring any setbacks, are expected to be out there in a game in which Jim Harbaugh returns to the stadium where he won a national championship just over exactly 1 year ago.
All right, Schefter, stay close by. We'll lean on you all morning long. I wish everyone could have seen Rex's face when he said a sprinkling of Justin Fields today. You've been calling for that for weeks now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that offense has been atrocious. Hadn't scored over 20 points in the last 4 weeks. You need Justin Fields.
All right, Tedy, let's start the opening kicks there with the Steelers. What are you looking for from them?
Yeah, how do the Steelers possibly win this game? You haven't won a game in 4 weeks. You haven't scored over 20 points in a month. And the Steelers, you better create chaos versus Lamar Jackson. And as Mike Tomlin would say, you got to win in unconventional ways. You got to get these turnovers. You got to force special teams errors any way that doesn't put a lot of pressure on your offense, because when you're counting on Justin Fields to come in and win you a playoff game, you're desperate. Defense, TJ Watt, you got to step up and do it for him.
Well, I'll tell you what, Pittsburgh may have to do it unconventionally. The Ravens do it conventionally. Give it to the hammer, Derrick Henry. You know what? There's no coordinator. Well, there's one coordinator in the National Football League that can stop Derrick Henry. You know who that coordinator is?
Who is it?
His own.
It's his own. His offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, who, by the way, has done a great job with this offense. Don't forget, just give it to the big guy back there and let him eat. He had 162 yards the last time against the Steelers team.
All right, let's go. Chargers heading to Houston. And listen, if the Chargers are going to win this game, they have got to get after C.J. Stroud. He has taken the second most sacks in the NFL. This Chargers D-line, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Tuli Tuipulotu. I need to see the T's today. Get after this guy.
Tui.
This Texans offensive line has struggled all year. Laramie Tunsil leads the NFL in penalties. Get after this crew. Take this game over today. Let's see it.
So C.J. Stroud for the Houston Texans, you got to find a way. If all of those rushers are coming, like Alex is saying, how can you get a pocket like this to hit Nico Collins down the field? Because this is what you're going to need. You got to lean on Joe Mixon. Get that offensive line a little bit of confidence. Let them lean on that defensive line of the Chargers, and then just work your play-action passes. But Joe Mixon already has a 1,000-yard season this year. He's got to go for 100. He's got to carry the mail. He's got to be the presence that keeps you in third and makeable.
Doubleheader today. A reminder, the entire AFC playoffs will be done by the end of the early game tomorrow. They'll go the 3 AFC games, then the 3 NFC games. Very quickly, I hold in my hand Rex Ryan's record as a head coach and an assistant in the wild card round. Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess?
Probably pretty darn good, Greeny.
5-1.
Oh, 5-1. I went 5-3.
And the wild card round. So this man,
Houston, you're in trouble.
he knows of what he speaks. Coming up, we are just getting started. Can the division rivals slow down Derrick Henry after a record-shattering season? Chris Berman sits down with the King for a behind-the-scenes interview you do not want to miss. Plus, lots from Schefter today. He'll take us inside all the top stories surrounding the new coaches and the old coaches and all the other coaches in between. Who's going to Chicago and what is going on in Dallas? Plus, super high stakes for the Harbaughs going into the playoffs. Schefter sat down with them both to find out what sets them apart as coaches.
He's a really brilliant guy. He's just got a knack. You watch him right now, you can see it.
Hey, that's great. But who are the chefs?
Rookie mistake?
Great googly moogly.
Maybe you just need a Snickers.
Dove Men Plus Care Whole Body DO protects you everywhere. Here, when you're there. There, when you're here. Even down there. Dove Men Whole Body DO. Care that goes everywhere. Everywhere.
The guy made a left into the river. Daddy's home. Hey, you got that thing?
Yeah, I got that thing.
Throw it in the fridge. Oh, what's this? You keep dog food in the fridge? It's not dog food. It's fresh pet. Real meat, real veggies from my boy Junior.
No disrespect, but what are we doing here?
Anybody asks, we were at Grandma's.
Fresh pet. It's not dog food, it's food.
Life doesn't always go as planned, which is why Domino's is giving you an emergency pizza, a free pizza to use when you need it most. Get your emergency pizza when you order Domino's online.
When I was younger, my calling was to play football. But as I grew older, I realized life isn't about how many people you can knock down. It's about how many people you can lift up. At Ram, our calling is to build game-changing trucks. So when you find your calling, nothing can stop you from answering it.
Right now, during the Ram Start Something New sales event, get $6,500 total cash allowance on the purchase of select 2025 Ram 1500 trucks. See your local Ram dealer today.
I've travelled all over the country talking about saving with Geico. But that's the important bit, isn't it? Showing up, saying, hello, fancy a nice chat. And then we talk like two old friends about sticky buns and all the savings you could get by bundling your home and car insurance. But here's the real secret. Eye contact. Do you feel that? We just had a moment. Who'd have thought it?
Geico. Save even more when you bundle home and car insurance.
Have you ever dreamt of getting 2 of your fave Wendy's items for $7? Like a spicy chicken sandwich, Dave's single, or 10-piece nugs? Well, today's the day your oddly specific dream comes true. Pretty good dream. 2 faves for just $7? Gotta be Wendy's.
Taxes was waiting. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day, so you can get up to $4,000 instantly. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax.
Pop-Tart. Crazy!
There's never been a path to a national championship like this. As the final teams take the field, everyone will know this one is bigger. And in the end, one team will have done something no other team in the history of college football has ever done. The College Football Playoff National Championship, Monday, January 20th, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN.
Postseason NFL Countdown is presented by Snickers. Snickers satisfies.
Same time.
We are ready for the playoffs, and our buddy Randy Moss up early watching Steelers and Ravens. So much history between these rivals. This will actually be their 5th all-time playoff meeting. Let's go through the previous 4. The first was in the 2001 divisional round. The Steelers would win. They would go on, Teddy, to play you and the Patriots the following week.
Yeah, but what a great, tough team this was. I mean, we had to go in there the next week. We were worried about how tough they were defensively. The weapons with Burris here. Took a couple special teams scores for us to beat them, but what a great game that was there.
That was a terrible game. I was at that one, too.
Yeah, you were at this one, too, Rex, because 7 years later in the AFC Championship game in what proved to be your last game as defensive coordinator in Baltimore.
Yeah, I hate the Steelers. 2 in a row, 2 of these things, but Polamalu was great. They had a better defense than us, which is really hard to say, but they did. They earned it. That's a Ryan Clark game. He about killed Willis McGahee.
The third meeting, another Steelers win. Baltimore actually had a 14-point halftime lead, but Big Ben would bring the Steelers all the way back. How about this catch here, Alex, on the throw to AB?
Yeah, ridiculous here. The
helmet.
Gets his helmet.
Wow.
I mean, unreal. These two teams have had so many epic battles over the years.
And then the Ravens would finally break through. They've won the most recent one, which was the 2014 wild card round. Joe Flacco had 2 touchdown passes in this game. They would go on to win it by a score of 30-17. All it needed, Rex, was for you to leave for another team, and they finally got the win. So tonight, the 5th matchup, and as anyone can tell, looking at Kimberly Martin, it is going to be cold in Baltimore tonight. Kmart, good morning. How are these teams preparing for the weather tonight?
Well, I can tell you, first off, it is cold. It is windy. In fact, they were just blowing the snow off of the seats and the overhangs here, covering us and our gear in snow, wet snow. But it won't snow during kickoff as of right now, so that's good. It's just going to be cold and windy. But talking to players on both sides, they say, you know what? That's just how we like it. That is AFC North football. And in fact, Greeny, guys, the Steelers players I talked to said this is the matchup that they wanted. They wanted to face Lamar. You know why? Because they've played them. They talked about the rivalry, the history. Wide receiver Calvin Austin told me, listen, we know that we can beat them because we have already. And this game is for all the marbles. But you guys know the Steelers are on a 4-game skid. And I talked to safety Minkah Fitzpatrick about that skid and Calvin Austin. Minkah told me the defense, we just have to do our job. Calvin Austin told me, listen, in years past, we had way too many player-only meetings. We didn't need that. We have everything we need in this locker room, and we know that we have everything we need to defeat the Ravens. Obviously, that is easier said than done, guys.
Kmart, stay close by and stay warm. Now, the Steelers have multiple losing streaks they're trying to snap tonight. We all know that they lost their last 4 regular season games. They also have lost 5 straight playoff games. That stretch is the longest in team history. Their last playoff win was 8 years ago in the divisional round of 2016. Mike Tomlin has lost 5 straight playoff games. It's worth pointing out no Super Bowl winning head coach has ever lost 6 straight playoff games. So, Rex, is there a lot of pressure on Mike Tomlin today?
I mean, it sounds crazy, but I believe, yes, self-pressure, that he wants to win so dang bad. Look, they're not going to fire Mike Tomlin. However, at some point, you got to win a playoff game. And we'll have a graphic later that shows you just how bad they've been getting crushed. Look at these scores right here. They've been getting this. I thought it was supposed to be this great Pittsburgh Steelers defense. They have not been great in these spots the last 5 years. They're average giving up 40 points a game. That's un-Pittsburgh Steeler-like. So you can throw out, once you get in these playoffs, you should be at your best. Yeah. They haven't been the last 5 goes at it, and I don't think they're at their best now. You talk about that 4-game losing streak, Greeny. I mean, their offense has been absolutely stagnant, and it looks like a throwback to, leather helmet days. Like, forget about it, man. It is time to put Justin Fields in.
I mean, in terms of Mike Tomlin himself, though, what has he not done to do everything to put this football team in a position to win? You kick the tires on Justin Fields early on. You realize you got a George Pickens, a receiver. You put in Russell Wilson to see if he can get him the football better. That succeeds for a little bit. Then Russell Wilson starts struggling. Now they're talking about putting in Justin Fields again. He's doing everything he can in terms of being successful at the quarterback position, which is basically what you need to win in the playoffs. But this is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're not talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars or some other franchise that when they have success and they get to the playoffs, sometimes that's good enough. You have to win multiple playoff games. You have to win world championships when you're at the Pittsburgh Steelers. At least that's what I see in this franchise. And if we're talking about Mike Tomlin, he has failed miserably in the last 5 times he's been there. So is there pressure on him? I think about what you're saying, Rex. I say yes. Just the expectations are different in Pittsburgh. I know the quarterback situation's one, but still, finding a way to get this done, Mike Tomlin's got to win today.
I really disagree on this. Listen, the coaching job Mike Tomlin has done this year has been phenomenal. At the beginning of the year, if you'd have asked all Pittsburgh fans, listen, this team's going to have a chance to win this division in Week 18 and make the playoffs, let's not forget, Kenny Pickett was starting at quarterback for them last year, right? Canada was the offensive coordinator. They cleaned house, right? Brought in 2 castaway quarterbacks on 1-year contracts, a new offensive coordinator. And this year has been a success, right? I get that their playoff history.
You can't say that.
I think all the pressure is on Baltimore. Again, listen, they lead the league in Pro Bowlers again. They're most likely going to have the MVP again, right? They're playing at home. There are no more excuses. I think all the pressure is on Baltimore to get this done. I think Pittsburgh is playing with house money, if you want me to be honest.
We're talking about, you have great individual players. One of the best defensive players in T.J. Watt for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's never won a playoff game. He has no idea what it's like to get to a championship game at all. All right, he hasn't even won one. So you're talking about players that have had a lot of individual success, but I disagree with you because it's not a success for me. If you're in Pittsburgh and all you do is make the playoffs and lose, there's more to that with certain franchises, and the Steelers are one of them.
Well, I got to say this, guys. The reason they're losing is because you have to to win when the snow flies, right? They should be built that way. The way they used to be built when Pittsburgh was winning is they could run the football and stop the run on defense. That's how you win. When it gets cold out, you have to be able to run the football and stop the run on defense. The team that's doing that way better is Baltimore. So to me, Baltimore, just stay true to who you are. You don't have to worry about being somebody you're not. Stay true to who you are, and this game shouldn't be close.
Well, so I feel like he just answered my question, but just looking at Kimberly's outfit,
yes.
Getting a sense from her telling us how cold it's going to be, it sounds like Rex is saying that favors the Ravens. The style of play in this weather favors Baltimore?
It does, but you're going to have balance, and that's why the Zay Flowers injury is big today. Listen, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, he's the guy you're the most afraid of on the outside, on the perimeter. This guy can separate with the best of them. He's out of the game. I mean, if there's ever a time to sell out, to stop the run, to load the box, cover zero, I mean, get everybody down in there, and it's going to take all of that to stop them. But why not, right? And nobody knows this team better. Again, Lamar's career record against the Pittsburgh Steelers is 2-4. Right? Let's not forget that. This team knows how to play them. They are not scared of this team.
Running the football and stopping the run is important, Coach. I totally agree with that. Eventually, it comes down to quarterback play. And that's what the Ravens have. And I know the Flowers injury is big, but I love that Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, tight end tandem, most successful touchdown tandem, 17 touchdowns this year. That's who they're going to lean on this game, I think.
They split the two games this regular season. The Steelers won the first one without scoring a touchdown. They kicked 6 field goals in that game. And the second one was a closer game than the final score would give you the impression. This is going to be a very interesting night. Meanwhile, speaking of interesting, the Cowboys this week blocking Mike McCarthy from interviewing with other teams. Schefter will take us inside what that means for his future. For the Cowboys' future, is change on the way. Plus, who will get the horns? Chargers, Texans. We'll take you inside the biggest difference of how Jim Harbaugh has changed Justin Herbert's approach to the game.
This is the most important game, this year because it's the next one, and we've got a very good team that we're playing.
I think you acknowledge these things, but you also want to make sure that, hey, how you can control, making sure that you're doing the right things is preparing accordingly, while also being mindful of this is bigger than football, and if the people that you're directly involved with are affected, making sure that you're, tending to that first.
Once we get in here, there's plenty of football to think about, and obviously playing a really good opponent. In a postseason game, that'll get your attention really quickly. But I know when guys leave here, there's things that guys are having to figure out at home or go through and people to think about. So while we're here, it's full focus, 100%, on the Vikings and the challenges that they present. But we're also human beings and care for the people of our community.
So Adam Schefter with us all morning long, and Lindsey Thiry, who's been in Los Angeles all week long with both the Rams and the Chargers. Schefter, let me start with you. What was the decision-making process behind moving the game to Arizona?
The Rams and NFL and the Vikings and the NFLPA were talking constantly throughout the week. And I think the Rams felt like this game initially could have been played Monday night in SoFi Stadium. But the league made the decision to shift the game to Arizona. And the Rams were very quick to adapt and express the idea that they were okay with that. They recognize with all these people losing homes, who cares about home field advantage? There are much bigger concerns in the world. It's a matter of public safety, and they agreed in the end to move the game to Arizona. The Cardinals sent their team flights. The Rams flew to Arizona last night, and today the Rams have set up shop at the Arizona Cardinals training facility where they will spend the next 3 days preparing for Monday night's wild card matchup against the Vikings. And there's the pictures, Green, right there. You see, they've taken over the Cardinals facility, and they've been comfortable in Arizona before. Up until this year, the Rams had won 9 straight games in Arizona. They'll be looking for more success there Monday night.
All right, so they've got a safe place to be and with their families. Now, Lindsey, you were with both teams at their practices this week and all the rest of that in Los Angeles. Take us through everything that the fans need to know.
Greeny, like Adam mentioned, the Rams are now in Arizona. How did they get there? Last night, their coaches, players, staff, families, about 335 people, I'm told, and that includes 6 dogs and 2 cats, boarded 2 777 planes sent by Arizona Cardinals owner Michael Bidwell. He got them to Phoenix, and this is all after what has been a very nerve-wracking and emotional week in LA. I was at the Rams team facility, like you mentioned, on Thursday when they began preparation for Monday night's game. During our news conference with Sean McVay, you could see plumes of smoke coming out of the Santa Monica Mountains, the Palisades fire just southwest of the team facility. Then to the north, as practice began, a new fire came up, the Kenneth Fire. That borders on the neighborhoods of Hidden Hills and Calabasas, where several of the Rams players and coaches live. I saw one player, and this was really a scene you can never forget. He ran out of practice across the parking lot in his cleats, jumped in his car and sped out of there. I know he has a wife, several small children, and that is something that was really just stays with you. And then moments later, several families, several wives started arriving to the facility as they evacuated from their homes. I'm told about 30 players, coaches, and staff in all had to evacuate. Some staff, I'm told, have lost property, but the best news, everybody is safe. As for the Chargers, their practice facility is further south in Los Angeles, but they too also have been affected because of the poor air quality, which literally had ash raining from the sky. They shortened their practices, and even some players chose to wear masks during those practices. Jim Harbaugh says his daughter was evacuated when a fire broke out in Hollywood, and Joey Bosa, he lives right near an evacuation zone, and he, like so many Angelinos this week, was trying to sleep with his phone on loud, afraid potentially of missing a notification to evacuate the area. Bosa, before departing, I should say, for Houston, Bosa saying he just hopes he has a home to return to.
All right, Lindsay, thank you so much. We'll come back to you as we continue again in Houston for the game today. And Schefter, the latest from you as we go. And let me bring it over here and listen. I mean, the impact of this horrific tragedy is so much greater than football. It almost feels strange asking football-related questions, but that's what our show is about. So, Rex, you're a coach. I mean, imagine yourself in the midst of this unimaginable disruption. How, if at all, does it impact the way the game is played on Monday?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it is going to impact it. Of course, it's going to. The human side of things, you can't just assume that it's not going to. I will say this: a class act by the Bidwells for sure.
Yeah.
You know, sending the planes and all that. And I think the way the Rams have approached this, you know, bringing the families and everything else, because obviously you can't just go there and your family stand. They're bringing them all together. And we saw this earlier in the year, Tampa Bay, with a hurricane and things, and that kind of galvanized that team a little bit. We'll see if it doesn't do the same thing here. But obviously there's so much on these young guys' minds and things like that. But it's almost a chance to sit back and say, this is a chance to breathe a little and to play the game that we love and put it out there that way. That's the only way you can come back and do it.
I like that you said that. I mean, listen, sometimes we build up football. It's our profession. We live it, right? You get in the playoffs, it can mean so much. Obviously, something like this puts perspective, like in life. And I think for guys, football can almost become a welcome distraction, right? It can also become a release, and you can play with a weightlessness given the gravitude of the situation. Obviously, hopefully, there's been a ton of logistical, acrobatics by both teams to kind of move their facilities and practice. But hopefully they can kind of, play with some kind of joy and love today for the game, obviously, despite everything that's going on.
Yeah, this is a different adversity, really. This isn't an injury you're coming back from or anything. You're worried about your family and if they're with you. And you come closer to your organization at times to see how the organization acts in times of crisis, to where families, I heard 6 dogs and 2 cats are also on the plane, and you come close as an organization and as a team. And unfortunately, this isn't just another football game. This is a playoff football game, and it means a lot to a lot of these players, and a lot of them want a world championship and want to move on to the divisional round. And so how do you put that with, can it be a distraction? It's hard. I mean, I think some of the most mentally tough people on the planet are in football locker rooms, because there are various adverse situations you have to deal with in life, and how we've had to play through various situations. This is another one for them. But for it being a playoff game, this means a lot to a lot of these players. So how each head coach is able to galvanize their team and get them focused is so important.
In my 30 years covering the sport and all sports, I've always marveled at the ability of players and coaches to compartmentalize it. This, obviously what is happening is so much bigger than football, but still be able to focus in as necessary. And sometimes I have heard from so many players, that is the place where you feel most comfortable. The place you feel most safe and comfortable and normal is once you actually get between the lines and you are able to focus on it. One way or another, we will see. And we would invite you, if you would like to help people affected by this week's California fires, you can donate at redcross.org/ESPN to help the Red Cross respond and help people recover. All right, we continue on Countdown as we go forward. We have Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, the top two contenders for MVP. We have their most valuable plays of the season. Don't miss the very best of the best from the best this season, plus the Ravens and Steelers today, led by King Henry. Chris Berman sat down with the man himself to ask all the big man questions.
We beat Lamar in a race.
Yes, I feel like I could.
Again, we are sending it all go down the field, right? Raiders drop into cover 3. Look at the corners bailing in.
They're ready for
thirds. Yep. What does this lead us to? 2-on-1 on the safety, right? And again, look at the distribution of the receivers. Every blade of grass across the field. Slot, Ladd McConkey, catch and run. Again, another explosive play for this offense, right?
They're going downfield.
Sending it, right? And today, huge challenge, right? Facing the Texans defense. This defense has allowed the lowest completion percentage in the NFL by opposing quarterbacks.
Well, there's one thing similar in both of those plays. The protection is pretty darn good by that offensive line. And Justin Herbert loves his left tackle, Rashawn Slater. That's who it starts with. Listen to what he said early in the year about his left tackle.
One of the great things about Rashawn is you never have to worry about him. You're just going to know that the left side's good. He's got it figured out. And, there are even times in the past where we're chipping and helping protection with a running back or a tight end, and he'll call it off. And that's just how much confidence he has and how good he is because he can handle it.
Calling off chips, you know you're good, especially when you're calling off chips against Myles Garrett right here. J.K. Dobbins has the option to chip. He doesn't. Rashawn Slater says, I got this. I'll take care of him. Dobbins has the option to release into the pattern there. But watch this. Myles Garrett comes with a physical rush, nice little bull rush. But Rashawn Slater says, one-on-one, I want this. Anchors. You see that left leg right there? Nice anchor, offensive line technique. Protecting Herbert, perfect pocket, left tackle success on the best in the business, Myles Garrett. That's the kind of protection Herbert has. He's going to have to deal with Will Anderson this week. The Patriots, they're not going one-on-one with him. Anderson knows about those chips. Watch his technique, his right hand. See how he grabs the wrist, holds on to the wrist the entire play, pins it down, sacks Drake May, Will Anderson, a great edge rusher. But Danielle Hunter on the other side, watch this. When you're against Penei Sewell, the best right tackle, first team All-Pro, making him spin. Put him in a blender, little inside hit, outside spin. Penei doesn't know where he is. Hunter comes up on golf. These two edge rushers are so special. To put it simply, this is where the game is today. Can Alt and Slater block Hunter and Anderson? That's where it's going to be so they can get all those shots down the field.
All right, we know what Jim Harbaugh said when they drafted Alt. He considers the offensive linemen to be playmakers, and they've been playmakers for the Chargers all year. So we continue rolling on in just a moment. Coming up, love hurts. Two-star QBs, Jordan and Jalen, head-to-head with both banged up. Find out why one of them is a huge concern. Plus, Lamar and Josh took the MVP race right down to the wire. We'll take you inside their most valuable plays from the season.
Thrown behind, but somehow caught. And now lateral to Allen and reaching for the pylon. Are you kidding me? This is how legends are made.
A lot of things better than Jim Moore. Okay, the 2024 playoffs start today. We talked about the 2 games. Let's go to the 3 games tomorrow. The AFC wildcard matchups will wrap up after the early game. Broncos-Bills. Then the NFC gets started. Packers-Eagles, followed by Commanders-Buccaneers tomorrow night. So let's get to the things to watch in those games. Teddy, Broncos-Bills.
All right, Josh Allen as a runner, especially scrambles, because Denver likes to play a lot of man-to-man coverage. They pressure. Once they get there, can they bring him down to the ground? They led the league in sacks. Zach Allen's a great player. You got Benito. You got Cooper. But Josh Allen is different. You got to get to him and bring him down.
All right, let's go. Commanders down at the Bucs, and this guy, Jaden Daniels, one of the best, maybe the best rookie season we've ever seen. Going to start in his first playoff game. He's going to have to use his legs in this one, and we know he's so lethal. But you know who else is? This guy. Baker Mayfield sneaking.
Get him, Baker.
He's got some wiggle in the backfield there, Greeny. This guy's so hard to bring down. He showed it in their first game, and he's going to have to do it again if his Bucs are going to have a chance in this one.
Well, we all know that Hurts is coming off a concussion protocol. And what do I have to do if I'm defending him? Make him get out of that pocket. Get him on the move. And, guys, even when he's healthy, he is one of the worst quarterbacks outside of the pocket. So that's what I need to do. If I'm the Packers, pressure that pocket, make Hurts get out of that pocket, and you'll be successful.
Well, look, you got the two-star quarterbacks in that game, and both of them come in with these injury concerns. Jalen Hurts just cleared concussion protocol. He hasn't played basically in 3 weeks. Jordan Love hurt his elbow last week. He's had some lingering issues with the feeling in his fingers. That said, both quarterbacks say they're ready to roll.
When we played them week one, we knew what kind of team they were. We have to be confident. You can't go in the playoffs with lacking that confidence because you'll get beat. I really think it's just blocking out all the outside noise, knowing who we have in this locker room. It's playoffs, you know, it's 0-0. So who cares about the record? It's one of those games that everybody's got to be at their best.
We just want to build off of where we left. Obviously, we've gone through 3 weeks of coach coming up here and saying he's still in protocol. Now he's saying that he's not in protocol anymore. So I don't think there's anything else to talk about with that. We move forward to the Green Bay Packers.
Well, I respectfully disagree. There's plenty to talk about with that. Alex, which of these situations do you think is of greater concern?
Oh, I think the Jalen Hurts one is much bigger. Listen, Jordan Love was warming up at the end of that game. I think he could have gone back in and played. The Jalen Hurts, listen, a concussion, this entire run game is literally around the QB, right? He makes a decision on almost every run. He's reading a defender. He accounts. And listen, if I'm the Green Bay Packers, I mean, I'm making him pull it as often as possible. I'm having the ends crash. I'm putting the ball in his hands. I'm giving him the Rex Ryan treatment. You know, I'm trying to the tush push. I'm hitting this guy as often as possible. That's the reality of football and this game. And listen, again, this offense revolves around him, right? This run game revolves around him. I know Saquon obviously going over 2,000 yards, but listen, this is all a QB-driven run game, and if he can't do that, this is a completely different team.
And it's the way you've set it up, right? I mean, you take the week off, all right? You don't want to go for the rushing record. You want everyone to be fresh. Supposedly, Jalen Hurts is fresh. The run game, how do they call it? I mean, I'm excited to see the first 3rd and 1, the first 4th and 1. Is it a tush push? Because guaranteed it should be, all right? And then once I see them do that and Jalen get up, okay, he's good. Here they go. Everything's going here. So he is so important to everything they do, run and pass, that watching him, rust is real now, okay? Rust is real. You can't just, like you heard Jalen say, hopefully we picked up where we left off. That doesn't happen every time. Sometimes it takes 1 quarter, a quarter and a half to get your groove going again. Hopefully they can start fast.
Well, they've started slow a lot of this season, Philadelphia.
Most of this season,
they've been a little better about it lately. But let's talk about this from a coaching standpoint. You're the Eagles. Your goal is not to win 1 game. Your goal is to win 4 games and win a championship. We all know that players with concussions are a little more susceptible to suffering than others. So does it change the way you think they call the game offensively today to set him up to get hit less frequently for that reason?
No, I don't think so, Greeny. I think this is playoff time. And look, this is why I said rest your players. Because you're right. This is a team that is built to go the distance. I mean, this is probably the most talented team in the NFC at least, and maybe the entire league. But the quarterback has now had three weeks, all right? Could he have played? Could he have whatever? I don't know. But to me, the only way they're going to win is that quarterback run game, because they're not good enough to just sit back and beat you and with Jalen Hurts from the pocket and things like that. They're not. And so all their routes are basically slant or go route. That's what I got to stop on the Packers. And the other thing right now, I've got to step up on that line and blow that dang quarterback run game up. And if I can do that, I'll be successful, even though this team is incredibly talented. Look, the thing that I'm concerned with, how about the receivers?
The Eagles receivers.
The Eagles receivers with A.J. Brown, all right, limited practice-wise, same thing with Devontae.
Yep.
And to me, that's a huge concern, because the Packers, if they're worth their anything on defense, they're going to stop the run. They better stop the run, and if they do, and you're not healthy on the outside, it could be a problem for Philly.
And on the other side of the ball, I want to see this Green Bay offense spread the Eagles out. Listen, you do not want to run it up the middle against this team, right? These 2 D tackles are unbelievable. The 2 middle linebackers are awesome, right? Spread them out. Use a bit of the Commanders formula. Listen, I know this secondary is much improved. There's still 2 rookies back there, right? And these 2 safeties, good football players, but they're not necessarily cover guys, right? I think you take your matchups on the outside. Romeo Doubs needs to have a big day. Reed needs to have a big day. Put the ball in Jordan Love's hands.
Why I love this game, it's a linebacker running back game. Really, I think. And you say spread them out?
Yes.
You say spread them out, but Josh Jacobs leads the league by far in first quarter carries. They are going to try to work Josh Jacobs and him against Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean, who both have had great seasons. And then on the other side with Saquon, all right? And then you got the pack. Edgerrin Cooper is a great young linebacker who I've loved watching this year. This is about stopping the run for me, all right, quarterback? And I understand you want to spread it out, but still, early on especially, this is going to be about the run.
This is when you fake it to him, Teddy, and then you throw it on the outside with your one-on-one.
These guys are,
the Eagles defense is so good up the middle. Yeah. These guys are all pros.
They are, but I tell you what, Josh Jacobs is one of the best in the National Football League at running that inside run. I'm not giving up on it. I'm sitting back saying, you got to prove it to me. Can you stop our run in that 7-man spacing, keeping those safeties in deep patrol like that? It's man on man. Can we not win those battles if you're Green Bay?
We've talked a lot about injuries to players who are going to play. There is one who is not. The absence of Christian Watson is a major loss, or let me put that in the form of a question. How significant is that loss in your mind for the Green Bay Packers?
Oh, it's a huge loss for them. Listen, this is a guy that anytime he steps on the field and wherever he's at, you have to know as a secondary. I mean, he is the deep presence for this passing game, right? And so often he takes the top off. He opens up space for other receivers. With him not there, right, you can squat on a lot of these guys. They're good receivers, but listen, they're not sending it downfield like Christian Watson.
I think Jaden Reed's got to go crazy in this game, and he did. The first game of the year, Jaden Reed was absolutely, phenomenal in that game, and not just in the passing game, but using him, knowing they're going to be in 7-man spacing with late support from the safeties and things. Get him on the perimeter in the run game. The Jacobs running the ball through the middle, Jaden Reed on the outside, I think could be a problem for Philly.
I looked over my notes from last year's playoff runs from these teams, and what I wrote down was a lot of rookies in prominent roles playing, tentative. All right, there are 2 rookies on the Philadelphia Eagles defense, in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Watching them play playoff football against this Packer offense, that's something. Because I don't care how many big games you think you've been in. A lot is going on in these NFL playoffs, and it means a lot to a lot of grown men, and sometimes rookies feel the pressure. I'll be watching a lot of rookies.
If you were looking at your notes from last year, which I love, by the way, you would notice that last year the Green Bay Packers became the only team ever to win a playoff game as a 7 seed, as they will be tomorrow. We all remember that game. They went into Dallas and went crazy, and Jordan Love had a QBR of 99. So we'll see if they're able to do anything like that against another NFC East opponent. Now, something brand new. Aaron Dolan is up with us, our betting expert extraordinaire. We're going to do something called Postseason Plays. It's brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Aaron and then Rex and I are going to look at some of the popular prop bets today. Aaron, what are we looking at?
Well, here's some that we have available for today. Now, again, these are just some that you could add into whether you want to bet it straight or in a parlay. But I'm going to be looking at Nico Collins' anytime touchdown score. He leads the team in targets, in receptions, in receiving yards, as well as touchdowns. He has 7 this season, and a lot of this comes down to the fact that, of course, Stephon Diggs unfortunately was injured, as well as Tank Dell. But when we look at this Chargers defense, they currently are tied for the 6th most receiving touchdowns allowed to opposing wide receivers this season. I think the Chargers defense is a little bit overrated.
Direction. So that's my piece of this parlay. I will go Mark Andrews anytime touchdown tonight against the Steelers.
Well, it makes sense, Greeny, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going with that I feel confident in. The difference with this Raven team is Derrick Henry. Over 1,900 yards rushing this season. Last time these two teams met, he went for 162 yards. Feed the man the football over and over. Get him 25 to 30 carries today. He'll go over that 100 number by a landslide, in my opinion.
So then you're saying you have faith in Todd Monken that he will actually hand him the ball 20 to 25
I
times.
absolutely do, because the shadow that Derrick Henry puts in there, Monken's like, oh, give him the football.
Let me remind everyone. So the postseason plays we just gave you, that's a parlay that can be found right now on the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app. What do we say?
Boost it.
Boost it, baby.
Boost it,
there
baby.
You have it. We
Boost
got
it.
Nico Collins to score a touchdown. Mark Andrews score a touchdown. Derrick Henry score a touchdown. You see the odds. We can boost it, baby, and only at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Okay, on we go. This has been one of the closest MVP races in recent memory. The AP All-Pro team was announced yesterday. Lamar Jackson named first-team All-Pro at quarterback for the second straight year, beating out Josh Allen. That suggests he will win the MVP. The QB named first-team All-Pro has won the MVP every year going back to 2013. But it got us thinking about the best plays from the two best quarterbacks in the league this year. Rex, let's start with Josh Allen.
Let's go with the real MVP. I don't want to hear it. Who the hell is making these votes? Josh Allen's looking to back up against the Jets right here. He launches it way down the field. Won't happen next year, hopefully, if I'm there. But anyway, look at this throw. This is crazy. He's not the MVP. Look at this play. Nobody does that except Josh Allen.
That was Allen in week 6. Here comes Lamar Jackson in week 12. And I want you to focus on the very finish of this play, because this is a move we should name for him. Just give it a little quick stop.
and the sound effects.
Right, Teddy, they didn't do this scouting report, because going back to high school, this has been Lamar's move.
Greeny, I need the sound effect.
Takes it in, Teddy.
All right, let's go Chiefs Bills week 11. And by the way, Rex, I helped make those votes, and I think they're doing a pretty damn good job.
I don't.
Okay?
I don't.
All right, Allen, 4th down. He doesn't care. He's had enough going through Bolton, going through the entire defense. We got to put the Chiefs down in the playoffs, but you got to start here. He did it in the regular season. 4th down, took it upon himself. Bills win.
I love both these guys. Let's go Lamar. Ravens versus the Bengals, week 5. This wasn't really MVP at the start. He drops the snap, puts it up, but then this is just silly.
Okay, that is sick. I'll give it
Stiff-arming
to
the
you.
defender, and then, oh yeah, I'm going to throw this touchdown to Isaiah Likely in the back of the end zone. I mean, look at this again. I mean, fumbling the snap. This is a defensive end that he just, little brother, sit down. And then again, pointing, directing traffic, and you want a touchdown? There you go. I mean, unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. And this one right here, they had this designed right here. Throw behind like you're supposed to, and then take it, catch this ball right here. I think he got credit for a passing touchdown and a receiving touchdown.
He did.
Josh Allen, you know what he needs to get credit for? The MVP. They got 3 more wins than Baltimore. Stop it.
Well, let's talk about that. You're saying that the votes have been cast. They have not, by the way. Lamar Jackson.
I know. I'm trying to stir it up here a little bit.
He hasn't won it yet. Why do you believe Allen deserves it ahead of Lamar?
3 more wins. At some point, aren't we going to judge the best quarterback by the wins? Like, I don't know. Like, I thought that was a big part of it. And by the way, they ran out his 2 best receivers.
He only has one more win, Rex.
Season.
One more win.
Well, 1-3. What's it? No, come on. You're going to count that last one when they rested everybody? That wasn't on Josh.
Do you give Josh a nod just because it's his turn? I mean, Lamar's numbers were just as historic. It's his best statistical season he's ever had. 41-4 in terms of touchdown, interception. Led the league in yards per rush. I mean, he's doing things we don't even think of.
Yeah, so is this kid here. Josh Allen. The difference is Josh has won more games. And look, they threw away his receivers. All right, he has 2 top receivers, so now he's going here. He never had Derrick Henry in the background and behind him, 400 some more rushing yards. It makes his life a little easier. I think I love Lamar Jackson, but I'm going to tell you this. To me, this man right here does it in the worst conditions in the league, playing in Buffalo. I think he's an absolute beast.
Sure,
Win should count for something, and he's not set up like.
And then also, I mean, I mean, it said something about Lamar that he has Derrick Henry and still was able to have the numbers that he had. It's unbelievable.
Listen, I think this is really close. I also lean to Josh. I think he's done more with less. Listen, the Baltimore Ravens have led Pro Bowlers the last 2 seasons by far. This is one of the best rosters in football. Josh, again, they completely revamped this receiving core, and look what he's done. And then it's not just the losses, which obviously Josh has less. It's the wins. I mean, he beat Detroit. He beat Kansas City, right? In the biggest moments, this guy has turned it on, and I think that puts him over the edge.
And the other thing, too, that we don't count, that you're not going to see statistically, is this guy right here in his number of attempts, pass attempts or whatever. You know what else he doesn't do? He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't throw it. It's the greatest in the history of the NFL for a guy with this many attempts. All right? The negative plays. Doesn't take sacks. Yep. No fumbles and interceptions. Way more than anybody else in the history of the league. We're just going to ignore that fact. Oh, and by the way, 3 more wins. I don't care what you say.
Having been doing this for 30 years now and in the middle of these debates, the complicated part of it is to make the case for one, it always feels like you have to make the case against the other. Clearly, either of these quarterbacks would be worthy candidates for MVP. We have seen the awards split in the years. We have seen co-MVPs. I don't know that that's impossible here.
And you know who wins? Joe Burrow.
I'll take the under on that. As we continue, the Cowboys have blocked Mike McCarthy from interviewing for the Bears job. Schefter will take us inside what's going on there and why McCarthy isn't locked to come back either way. Plus, Schefter also sat down with the Harbaugh brothers to get an inside look into some family history and how they have shaped the way they both coach now.
To bring out my own hockey expert.
Okay.
Because I love hockey.
Here we go.
PK Subban.
Oh, no.
PK Subban.
Rex, you know what time it is?
You know.
Alex.
Hey.
Teddy, stay right where you are. Buckle and strap in. Greeny, what's going on, Rex? Rex knows what time it is.
Yes, I do.
He's been to
PK.
Predators games. He lived in Brentwood.
Yes, Brentwood.
Governor's Club.
Yep.
In Brentwood, so he knows all about hockey.
I had season tickets to watch it.
Yeah, I've seen you sitting on the glass, man. But today we're talking a little bit of hockey and Matthew Tkachuk. This guy's a superstar. Today we got a crazy rivalry game, Bruins and Panthers. And this is a rivalry because both teams are great. But what makes a rivalry is it's superstars. And you know this. This is basically like having Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers going toe-to-toe in the playoffs for all the marbles.
Pasternak. What are you doing?
Hey, give him credit. They say the Euros are soft. This guy stood in there. Look, Pasternak, they say the Euros are soft. I don't believe that. This guy stands in there. These are superstars going toe-to-toe. And you know what? I said Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Are you up for the Jets job?
I think I am.
Well, you're in the mix. It doesn't matter. Here's Keith Tkachuk. And here's Chantel, Keith's wife right here. She's Canadian, by the way. I think that explains a lot of why Matthew's got that mean streak and that edge in his game.
Look at my brother right there.
That's your brother?
That's my brother sitting there. I don't know. Is he drinking that's a soda, I think. That's a beverage.
And what's he got there?
Oh, man. You know, Bravo, that could be anything.
That's got to be catfish.
Round one,
Is that the catfish stew? If you haven't had the catfish stew, you got to have it.
Hey, did you see that? But how great was it? You see Tkachuk and sit back and go, oh, you want some? And Pasternak's like, all right, is it okay for me to go? He looks at the coach, goes out there, and he's got to know.
You got to do, hey, when push comes to shove, the gloves come off.
We got to go.
Teddy, hey,
we got to go.
Listen to me.
We got to go.
Don't drop the glove. That's what you got to watch for. It's going to be on. I wish it was Marshawn getting his nose splattered.
The Bruins made a change at head coach earlier this season, and there are 6 head coaching openings in the NFL today as well. Teams continuing to go through interviews. Jets, Bears, Saints fired their coaches during the year. Pats, Jags, Raiders all moved on in the last week, and that brings us back to Schefter in the Domino's pregame headquarters for more on these openings. Schefter, where do we stand with all these jobs?
Well, we'll start with New England, Greeny, and the Patriots interviewed Mike Vrabel on Thursday, Ben Johnson on Friday. Most people around the league believe that Vrabel remains the favorite for the Patriots job, but they're going to be working on this weekend, charting their next steps, figuring out what they could do. Vrabel obviously has a close relationship with the franchise. We'll see if anything there can materialize. Meanwhile, the former Seahawks coach Pete Carroll interviewed Thursday with the Chicago Bears and is expected to interview this week with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm told
He's going to be a candidate in Las Vegas, somebody to keep your eye on. Obviously, Chicago has interest. Pete Carroll would like to get back into coaching after being out of the game last year. We'll see if he finds a way to land a job. Meanwhile, Aaron Glenn, been very busy. Thursday night with your Jets, yesterday with the Saints and Raiders, and he's spending today meeting with the Jacksonville Jaguars and Chicago Bears in virtual head coach interviews. That means the only one he has an interview with is the Patriots. It certainly looks like Aaron Glenn is going to come out of this cycle with a head coaching job. Meanwhile, Mike McCarthy's contract with the Dallas Cowboys expires on January 14th. And while there have been substantial conversations between Mike McCarthy and Cowboys owner Jerry Jones regarding football issues and questions, there haven't been any substantial discussions between Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones regarding a future contract. And as long as that's the case, you have to wonder now, what is Jerry Jones waiting for? Clearly no deal has been done by now. Jerry must have an idea in his mind, another plan as well, about what he would do if and when Tuesday comes and Mike McCarthy is allowed to talk to other teams like the Chicago Bears that already have been requested permission to interview him and denied from the Dallas Cowboys. But the longer this goes on and the less conversation there is about a deal materializing for McCarthy, the more you have to wonder if the two sides are even going to get one done. I think that's in question right now at best, and I think we will get clarity early this week. But again, no business conversations so far. Jerry likes to wait late in the game. We saw that with Dak Prescott this year. We saw it with CeeDee Lamb. But right now, it seems like Jerry must have some other ideas as well.
It all feels so performative. Keep Schefter close by because we'll probably have more questions for him. Let's start with that. We had a lot of this on Get Up this week. The Cowboys blocking Mike McCarthy's ability to talk to the Bears, despite the fact that they don't have a deal with him. The exclusive window closes on the 14th. You have an issue with it?
He signed a contract. I don't have an issue with it, actually. I mean, this is business. I mean, if Jerry's got someone that he wants that's on the hold here and seeing if he's going to be available, and then Mike McCarthy's here, also a good head coach as an owner, why shouldn't I? You signed a contract. It's not over to the 14th. I'm going to hold on to all my assets until I have an answer. I have no problem with it at all.
Yeah, no, I agree with you in this situation. And the way it's set up, it's not that he is precluding McCarthy of interviewing with the Bears moving forward if he does move on from them. He's not taking away that opportunity. Because the way the new thing is set up, it's going to be a couple of weeks before any of these head coaches are fired or hired, actually. So we'll see what happens. But I will say this. You saw where Schefter mentioned Aaron Glenn. It's about time this young man gets a head coaching job. He is absolutely outstanding.
Listen, if Mike McCarthy isn't going to be back with the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, this is petty, right? I mean, we're 3 days to the 14th. Let this guy go interview for another job. You've had 5 years to evaluate him, right? And if he doesn't come back, I think this is ridiculous. This isn't how you do business. With that being said, right, Schefter mentioned it. Jerry loves to take these things down to the wire. I think Mike comes back. I think that it was telling that they didn't let him go interview for this. I think he's back as the Cowboys coach.
I want to get to one other quick thing here, because if Mike McCarthy goes back as Cowboys coach, that's the end of that discussion. But the idea that he might have an idea of someone else, who might that someone else be? The subject came up. Schefter reported it last week here, that there is an expectation, and Schefter, I believe I still have, that Steve Sarkisian's name might come up in some head coaching conversations. Steve Sarkisian's season ended last night in heartbreaking fashion, I might add, against Ohio State. Schefter, you and I were together on Thursday when I put those dots together. To be clear, don't put it on the bottom line. Schefter did not. Don't anybody aggregate that Schefter is putting those two together, but I'm certainly willing to do so. What is it we think Jerry might have up his sleeve between now and Tuesday?
Well, look, it would be naive to think that Jerry Jones hasn't pondered what life without Mike McCarthy would look like. And clearly, he has not put in for any of these coaches that we're talking about. He hasn't put in for Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn or Brian Flores or any of the coaches that are going through the virtual head coach interview cycle. So clearly, Jerry must have some sort of idea. And I don't know who that is right now. We're going to find out if no deal materializes with Mike McCarthy. But clearly there has to be a candidate or two in his mind
that he feels reasonably comfortable that he will not have a difficult time in hiring if he decides to not move forward here with Mike McCarthy.
What do you think?
No, I mean, I'm sure he does. No, I'm sure he has somebody in mind and things, but you're right. I mean, does McCarthy come back or whatever? I think if he does, I think there's got to be a lot of changes anyway on that staff, so we'll see what happens.
There's a lot on my mind that Schefter has just informed us of, and I got to say something about my former team, the New England Patriots, who have been absolutely a mess the last couple years and how they've handled things. The only way to fix this is to hire Mike Vrabel. I'm telling you right now, a coach that could come in there and doesn't just lead men, but knows how to lead football players, knows how to reach football players, and can deal with that ownership, fix the organization, Robert and Jonathan Kraft, and hire Mike Vrabel.
Okay, over the next week or two, a lot of these pieces will fall into place. In the meantime, we will continue with our picks for the first two games of this wild card weekend. Chargers up against the Texans. Then tonight, Ravens and Steelers. Will tell you who we've got in both these matchups. Plus, as Justin Herbert and C.J. Stroud face off today, D'Amico Ryans takes us inside why the Texans are the team no one believes in, except for themselves.
That's why you want to be here at this time of the year, still playing playoff football. It's more exciting.